Welcome to Motherhood. Whether you're 18 or 80, Dr. Christina Hibbert, clinical psychologist, author, and mother of 6, is here to help you through the ups and downs, the joys and frustrations, the new information from experts, and the stories of happiness and heartbreak from real moms. Remember, if you can, tell your mama to listen too.
And I'll make everything all right.
Here's Christy.
Welcome to Motherhood. It's me, Dr. Christina Hibbert, here to help you overcome, to become, and to flourish in this ever-changing experience we call motherhood. If there's one thing we can count on with motherhood, it's definitely that things are going to change. Transitions are a given. They constantly come. And when you're mom, you then find yourself rearranging your whole life, it feels like, around the schedule, the routine, the holiday, the back to school time. And that's exactly what I'm going to be talking with you about today on this episode as we discuss these transitions and some of the reality that we really need to accept in order to make it through these transitions, in order to make it through the change that inevitably comes, and even to choose to change and to choose to grow through motherhood, as we always say here, instead of just going through it, because you're going to have to go through it anyway, right? So it's a lot better to grow through it and to do so with us each week here on Motherhood Radio. That's what today's episode is all about. Motherhood reality check time, everybody. Now, before we get started, I want to thank you for joining me here and for everybody tuning in on my website, drchristinahibbert.com, for all kinds of resources related to what we're talking about today. In fact, I have 2 blog posts I'll be referring to today. One is Motherhood Reality Check. It's a recent one. Another one is 7 Strategies for School Year Sanity. So you can look up those as well as other resources to help you learn more about the things that we just touch on here, because we don't always have time to get into everything here, but I want you to be able to have those free resources at your fingertips, and trust me, they're there. Also, in our Facebook group, please join us there. This is where I post the videos and the audio for the episodes first. You get the most updated news and hopefully connect with some of the other moms as we talk about some of the things we discuss on the show, and hopefully share some more of motherhood with one another. So that's Growing Through Motherhood. So if you haven't already, go to Facebook, ask to add yourself to our group, Growing Through Motherhood there. And also, of course, join me on Instagram. I love to see you there. You can find us at motherhood.tv, and also me at Dr. Christina Hibbert on Instagram. And of course, all over social media, YouTube. If you're watching this video, you're probably already aware of the YouTube channel, but all the videos that we have for the episodes are available there too through our Motherhood TV playlist on my YouTube channel, Dr. Christina Hibbert there too. All right, business out of the way. Now, the reason why we're talking about this today is because this is where I am. This is what I've been thinking about lately. This is what I've been dealing with. This is what I've been working on. And I'm pretty selfish. I've realized finally that with my blog, with the radio show, with everything I write about, except maybe some of my books, it hasn't been this way. But for the most part, yes, the things I want to write about, the things I want to talk about, the things I want to share are the things I want to share. So I'm pretty selfish. I end up focusing on the things that are going on in my life, but really there's a good motive behind it, because what I really want to do is to share the things that I'm learning and the things that I've been able to help me and that I've been able to help my clients with to help you as well. So that's why today we're going to talk about a motherhood reality check. I think we all have times where we need a bit of a reality check. And that's one thing I love this show for, is all my guests, when I talk to a guest every week, it's a different kind of reality check on our health or on our mental health or on parenting or on just the way that kids are or the way that we are or things that we can do to improve or overcome. And today that's what we're going to be doing. And it's going to be just me. It's a one-on-one session here today to talk a little bit about some of the realities that we moms need to face, and that especially come up during times of change and transition. Now, as I started off by saying, if you're a mom listening right now, you know, and even if you're just not a mom, even if you're just another person listening, transition and change is part of life, right? And it is especially part of being a parent. Our kids grow, they're in one phase and then they grow into another. Whenever I'm talking with parents who have young babies and they're exhausted and the babies are not sleeping and they're trying just to keep up, and you say, oh, it is so hard at that phase. And then you think, oh, and then they're going to start sleeping through the night, but they're going to be teething. So there's something else that's going on. Then they're going to not be teething, but they're going to be potty training. And I always say you just kind of trade one difficult phase for another. You get through one difficult phase. You might have a few weeks of bliss. You might not. And then boom, there's another difficult transition or phase, because that's what childhood is. It's about growing and developing. And so our kids are constantly changing. And just because we're adults doesn't mean that we shouldn't be constantly changing. I mean, really, we're still, hopefully, purposefully, developing ourselves and figuring out who we are and understanding more about ourselves and understanding who we are as mothers and as parents and as people in the world, and working on our interests and our talents and our careers and the things that we have going on. So there's obviously all that kind of transition too. But there's also, built into motherhood in particular, and I would say fatherhood too, especially for fathers who are the primary caregivers. And I know I don't really give that enough attention because the show's called Motherhood, so we talk about motherhood. But I know we have some dads that listen in who are stay-at-home dads, who are the primary caregivers, and everything we talk about on motherhood pretty much applies to the dads too, in a lot of ways, and especially for dads who are the primary caregivers. So when our lives are going along and boom, you get to something like, let's say, Mayhem, which is, that's why it's called Mayhem. It's crazy, right? If you haven't already experienced children in school, you will, and you will understand what I mean by mayhem. And this is in the United States, of course. This is at the end of the school year. So whatever your end of the school year is, wherever you're listening around the world, it's a difficult time. It feels like every activity is scheduled, every wrap up of a concert and a award ceremony and banquet for sports teams or whatever it might be. And then you have finals for the older kids, and you're trying to do, I've had 3 graduate in the past 4 years. So, had graduation and graduation and graduation. You're getting all that ready, and you're trying to wrap up the school year, and everything's just so quick. I mean, it's already busy enough with all the activities during the year, and then everything just happens at the end of the year with wrap up, and that's why I call it mayhem. And so, for instance, it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing, right? It's good stuff happening. It's all these wonderful, opportunities to go and support your children and to see them do the things that they love and to help them wrap up another year and to do it well. But it is a transition. It is suddenly your life is crazy busy. It is overflowing with activities and things to do, and you're exhausted. Okay, I'm projecting. I'm exhausted. Okay, this is just me, but I know there are many out there who can relate. So even something as simple as the end of the school year, or right now as I'm recording, it's the beginning of the school year. Now, here's the irony. I have been dying for school to start, okay? So the end of the school year is always a transition because it's so busy, it's mayhem. And then boom, I find myself, I'm so busy, I don't even have time to think and prepare that, oh my goodness, it's gonna be summer break and I have all my kids home. I have 6 kids and, I have several out of school now, but the college kids come home and everybody's here and the whole family and the whole home is just completely turned upside down. And because I have so many teenagers now, they all want to sleep in all day. They don't want to do anything, or they want to be out with their friends all the time. So, it's a hard transition. And as soon as mayhem is almost over, I start to go, oh, dang it. It's It's summer. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I have no plan. I have no idea how I'm going to handle this. What am I going to do about my work schedule? How am I going to do all the things that I used to do because I work from home a lot and my kids are here all the time? How are we going to keep the house organized, right? So summer becomes this huge transition. And then our summer break here is really short. It's 2 months. So it feels like as soon as we get into the swing of summer where I can finally really just let myself go, I let work go, I kind of just focus on my family, try to have fun. We go on vacation, we go to the pool, we try to do things that build memories and keep everybody happy and entertained, including me. And then boom, it's back to school. And so even though I was dying, and every year I'm dying for school to start because I feel like in summer there's absolutely no break, there's no downtime, and I'm a person who needs alone time, need it. And so I'm ready for school to start, and then school starts and it's a whole different kind of crazy. We're up super early. I have kids who have a class before school, and so we have to be up and get them out the door by 6:30, and everybody's trying to get used to their schedules. And I've had one start high school this year, and you know, it's a lot. And there's a lot of emotions, and everybody's tired, and we're adjusting again. So all that to say that these transitions are natural part of not only life, but a routine part of childhood and of parenting. Then you'll have, Christmas is another time for me, or holiday time for anybody. That is a crazy month. December is a crazy busy month. There's also a lot going on with the kids and activities. You're trying to get ready for the holidays, then they're off of school. It's adjusting. And so here's what I'm trying to say. That we, the caregivers, the primary caregivers, mothers mostly, and sometimes fathers, or whomever that may be, our whole lives get flipped upside down. So I was trying to explain this to my husband because he explained this to me, and why this was an epiphany, I cannot say, because it shouldn't have been, because I know this deep down, but I really didn't ever put this together. He said, you're always like this. You always have a really hard time. You kind of freak out and you have a really hard time in May, when summer starts, and when school goes back, and in December. You always have a hard time. You're always, all of a sudden, you're thinking you're depressed. You're thinking you have a lot of anxiety. You're worrying about things. You're not feeling like you're healthy. This is just the norm. And it really was an eye-opener for me. And I'm hoping some of you listening maybe this is an eye-opener for you, or maybe you already know and can relate. Or maybe you just handle it better than I do. But to me, that transition, I had to explain to him, because my whole world gets flipped upside down. It's summertime, boom, everything's totally different. It's school, let's go back, flip it all the way back around again. Holidays, let's flip it around again. It's just, and back to school again. Snow days, I kind of freak out. We have snow days here, and when we have several in a row, it just messes up my whole schedule. I have to cancel work things. I have to rearrange. It's just part of motherhood, though. It's just part of the deal. So if we know that these transitions are going to come, and these are good things, right? It's good to have May, and it's good to have December, and it's good to have summer break, and it's good to have school, and all these things are good. But just because it's a good thing doesn't mean it's not hard. And that's kind of our focus of today, is just because it's good doesn't mean it's not hard. So that's our first reality check that everybody can hopefully listen to and let it sink in. There are a lot of good things in life, like moving, or getting a new job, or having a baby, or having your child go on to the next grade of school, or participating in an activity that they love, that they're really good at. These are all really good things. They're transitions, or they're just changes, or they're things that they're just good things. But that doesn't mean that it's not hard. It's kind of like if you want to be a ballerina. I have a daughter who does, point dancing, and I could never do it, but she has to practice a lot. She has to stretch. She has to, make her feet strong enough to do that. So it's a good thing, and she loves it, but she really has to practice, and she has to work, and it's hard. And there are times where she doesn't want to do that, but she has to do it. And so that applies for all of us too, right? So just because it's a good thing doesn't mean it's not hard. That's our lesson number 1. And going along with lesson number 1 is number 2, is that it's just hard, period. Motherhood, parenting, fatherhood, parenthood, it's hard. Okay, it's just hard, period. And if you are one of the lucky ones that are thinking, well, it's not hard for me. Well, I want to know your secret because for me, it's hard. It's hard when we're exhausted and we get up because we love our kids and we want to do what's best for them and we're trying to do what's right. It's hard when we don't know what the right thing is. It's hard when they change and they transition into a new phase and we're just trying to understand them. It's hard to connect. It's hard to communicate. It's hard when they get older and they go and make choices that we have no control over and we're just trying to love them through it and not let the fear give in. We are just in this crazy roller coaster experience and it is hard. But that doesn't mean that we don't think it's worth it, right? So even though number one is, even if it's good, it can still be hard. And number two is, even if it's hard, it still can be worth it and it is worth it, right? It's still kind of the best kind of hard thing that you do, right? That's why we do it. Otherwise, we wouldn't keep doing it. But I think it's important for us to hear. Now, these aren't things I'm saying, they're not truths that you guys are going to go, wow, I've never heard that before. This is so new to me. I've never heard that being a parent is hard. I never knew that. No, you're going to know this. I know you know this. I know you understand. But here's why we're talking about it. Because we need to hear it. And I need to hear it. And that's probably why I'm telling you. I tend to, if you follow me on online on social media, you'll find that I tend to post quotes or articles or things that I need to hear. So whatever I'm posting about, it's probably because that's something that I need to hear right now. And I'm hoping somebody else can need it too, but really that's my selfish motive there. So motherhood is hard. It's worth it. Just because it's easy, just because there are good times and there are some times that feel easy doesn't mean it's not hard. And just because it's hard doesn't mean we don't love it still, right? So we can say it's hard being a mom. It's hard having my whole world get flipped around and changed around all the time. I try to explain this to my husband, and I think he's finally getting it after almost 22 years of being married. He's finally getting that, okay, yeah, it is hard for me because he just kind of keeps the same schedule all the time. And that's hard for him in a different way. He doesn't have change and he doesn't like change, so that's good for him. But, I like change sometimes. So it might be hard to keep the same thing all the time and to feel like you don't have that switch around. But it is hard too when your whole world gets flipped around. Okay? So we're starting there with motherhood's hard. It's not some kind of epiphany that everybody's going to hear for the first time, but it's important for us to remember. And if you need to, just write it down and put it up on your wall so that you don't forget. And a lot of things we're talking about right now you can find in my latest blog post, which is Motherhood Reality, or Motherhood Reality Check. Sorry, it's a Motherhood Reality Check. It's hard and I'm improving. So really what we're talking about is the paradox of motherhood and parenthood, which is these two opposing things that feel so opposite and they feel like a paradox, like they can't both be true. And here's what happens with our brain when we experience a paradox. We tend to do a thing called cognitive dissonance, which means that our brain naturally, when it experiences two separate emotions, two separate thoughts, two separate experiences that don't seem to go together, that are opposites, we feel like we have to choose one. So we tend to, just to make it easier on our brain, instead of trying to understand this paradox, we just kind of pick one. So we might, for instance, with the things we've been talking about, we might sometimes feel like this is hard. It's so hard. It's so hard. Why am I doing this? And we forget because we love our kids and it's worth it and we love it and it's still good. Or we might tell ourselves, no, it's good. It's good. I love motherhood. I love being a motherhood, and not admit that it's hard because our brain kind of wants to pick one. But as I wrote in my book, This Is How We Grow, where I was talking about these paradoxes and even the paradox of life and death, I had just gone through childbirth with my fourth baby. And yet my sister and brother-in-law had just died, and I'd inherited my 2 nephews, and we suddenly had 6 kids. So we had this great, incredible experience of having our final child, which became our 6th child, and of having this beautiful baby girl, which I was so excited about and so looking forward to, and at the same time being so grief-stricken because my sister, especially my dear sister, and my brother-in-law too, but especially my dear sister, who was my best friend, had died recently, so just a few weeks before. So you have that paradox, and what I learned through that experience and what I shared in This Is How We Grow is that sometimes a lot of times both are true. And it's good and it's okay and it's a good thing to try to make room for both realities. To say, it is sad and I'm happy. I can feel both of those things inside of me almost at the same time, or one right after the other. And that's good. That's part of life. Or it is hard and it's so good. It's so worth it. I love being a mom. I love every moment of being a mom. I even love the moments I don't love, right? That's true, because there are so many moments I don't love, but I love those moments too, right? So this is what we're talking about, this paradox, kind of making space for it. And a few of those things we've just discussed, we're going to add to here. So along with it being hard, here's another reality check that I just think you probably need to hear this, you mom sitting there, wherever you are, doing whatever you're doing, probably trying to just have a little quiet time as you're listening to this. Maybe you're cleaning, maybe you're driving, maybe you actually are just kind of sitting and listening. I hope you're giving yourself some time, because reality check number 3 is that being a mom is exhausting and never ending, and that's the norm. All these things we've talked about are the norm. I remember a time when I was trying to get back to normal, it felt like. After my sister had died, after this whole big experience, after I gave myself a year to grieve and get over it, I thought, well, that was naive. But after all of that, I kept thinking, I need to get back to normal. I need to get back to normal. And one day, in the midst of the total craziness and chaos that was our life and still is, with all my kids running around, and I was just standing there, and they're literally running around, chasing each other, playing. But I mean, it's good stuff, but it's, drives you crazy. You're happy they're playing, but could we be a little quieter or not throw things around the house, right? And I remember it dawning on me, this is normal. And it was a game changer for me, just a perspective shift, a little bit of a paradigm shift of the way I saw my life. And this is something that you can do and that can hopefully help you. And that's why telling you these things that you already know today, giving you this reality check, can hopefully just kind of help you go, oh, okay, good, okay, and kind of exhale, because the reality check here is that it is exhausting. It is never ending, and that's normal. Like I said, it's hard, it's great, it's exhausting, it's never ending, and that's normal. That's just the way it is. So when we can accept that that's the way it is, then we don't feel that pressure to have to make it something that it's not. So here's a lesson that goes along with this. And again, this is something I write about in This Is How We Grow, because this is something I learned during that time of my life, which is that sometimes the problem is the trying. So as I say, sometimes the problem is the trying. You're trying so hard to not be depressed, or you're trying so hard to not feel overwhelmed or to not worry, that you're ignoring the fact, or you're pushing away the fact, or pushing it down, hiding it inside, the fact that you are that thing already. And that you are experiencing that feeling of depression, or you are experiencing that feeling of being overwhelmed, or you are experiencing that worry. And the truth is, when we fight those things and we don't accept them, they fight us back. They get even louder because we're trying to fight them, and they're like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to give you something, right? But when we accept it, then we can kind of go, okay, I guess this is where I am. And when we accept where we are, then we can kind of exhale. Doesn't mean we want it to stay the way it is. It doesn't mean we're not going to try to change things. It just means we accept that this is where we are right now. So even something as small as telling yourself and actually listening to yourself and reminding yourself over and over that it is exhausting to be a mom, that it is never ending, that it is hard, but that it is beautiful also. These things can really help us to kind of exhale. So as I wrote in my post Motherhood Reality Check, that this is reality and it's hard and never ending and messy and makes me crazy and exhausted and burned out. And that is my normal. It's the normal of every mom, isn't it? And it's crazy beautiful. It's full, overflowing, abundant life. This is life, and I am grateful. End quote. Can you relate to that? That paradox? I had a friend quote, I posted that quote on my Instagram, my Dr. Christina Hibbert Instagram account lately. And a friend of mine quoted and said, this is exactly what I was just thinking about. You know, I am so overwhelmed all day and my kids drive me crazy. And then why is it then I go in at night and I see them sleeping, or I'm putting them to bed and I kiss them goodnight, and it's just, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. I love them so much. They're so wonderful and amazing and perfect. It is. It's the paradox, right? The paradox, the reality is the paradox. So that's something we can always remember. Okay, so let's build on that. Another reality check / paradox is, and again, this is something that hopefully everybody can understand and relate to, is that it's easy to get completely burned out being mom. We know this. We talk about this all the time. It's easy to get burned out, and it's up to us to either prevent and or to heal that burnout. Now that feels like a paradox too, doesn't it? But it's the reality. We are in this intense, as I said, never-ending, exhausting experience that has beautiful moments and a lot of beauty and wonderful good things to it. But the reality is that it's easy for moms to get burned out, and I see this all the time, and I experience this way too often. This has probably been my biggest challenge, especially since, really ever since being a mom, but especially since having 6 kids and trying not to burn out, trying to take care of my family in the way that I want to be the mom I want to be, and to also be me. You know, that is hard. It's hard enough to take care of your home and your family and your kids, but then to also take care of yourself and to not lose yourself in the process, it is such a challenge. And let me tell you, I see so many women, moms, who are empty nesters and for the first time in their lives wondering, who am I? Who am I? I have gotten so lost. This is the story that I hear over and over. I have gotten so lost in my kids. I did everything for my kids, for my husband, for my family, whatever it might be. I took care of everybody. I did my work. I took care of people there. And I completely have lost who I am. I don't even know what I like to do anymore. So I say, what did you used to like to do? And a lot of times they say, I don't remember. It's been 20 some years and I have no idea. What did you used to love to do when you were 10 years old? That's a great question. Everybody out there, you can all think about that. I always think about that. I used to want to be a singer when I was 10 years old. And I really love to sing and to make up songs. And I still like to make up songs. But I'll tell you, I haven't made up a song in several years. Not a full one anyway. I have parts of them. And I hardly ever sing, in church like I used to, or I sometimes sing when I speak. But most of the time I get there and I think, oh, I forgot my guitar. I guess I'm not going to sing. I think it's my excuse because I just haven't been practicing and I'm not confident. But realizing what we used to love to do when we were 10 can help us just get started experimenting with some things that we might love to do now and figure out who we are now. It's such an important thing. We can do a whole other show about that, and we'll need to, about identity. That's such a big issue in motherhood, but we're just touching on it here. Last night, I have to tell you, my son is going on a mission for our church. He's going to Fiji. Fiji. Oh my gosh. It was like an out-of-body experience when I found out where he was going. When he read the letter to everybody, we had a big party with all our friends and his friends and some family. And I really literally felt out of my body. And when I heard Fiji, it took a while to sink in because I really had no idea that he'd be going to Fiji. And I've always wanted to go there. So I'm really excited because we're planning a trip to pick him up when he's done in 2 years. He's going to be gone for 2 years. Anyway, long story short, he's having his mission farewell, which is where he gets up at church and speaks and speaks to everybody and talks about some things before he leaves on his mission and says goodbye to everybody. We have a party and all that. And I get to sing. I finally, just last minute, said, told whoever was in charge of the singing that I would like to do a musical number with my daughters. And my daughters are 14 and 9, and hopefully we can do this. But last night, knowing that I'm going to be doing this in a week, which of course, again, totally last minute because crazy chaos around here and I'm just not on the ball at all, started looking at music and I started singing songs I used to sing all the time. I used to always sing for mission farewells. I used to always sing in church. I used to always sing when I'd speak. And I haven't done that in so long, and just playing the piano, which I'm not great at, but just to sit and play some songs I used to play. Oh, it just filled me up last night. I'll tell you, it really filled me up. And so, long story short, the same can happen for you. What is something that you used to love to do? And even if you don't feel like you like it or love it now, maybe you could just give it a try or do something. That's part of self-care, is figuring out and remembering who am I in the midst of being mom too. You can be mom and be you at the same time. That's why I love the title that I was inspired with for my blog, which is The Psychologist, the Mom, and Me. Because to me, those are 3 different aspects of myself. I have my career, my psychologist. I'm a mom. That's my main job, and a wife and a mother, and my family. That represents all that. And then there's me. There's me, the individual who has her own wishes and desires and dreams and cravings and needs, right? So if we don't acknowledge those needs, like I feel like I'm getting lost in motherhood, or I am so literally tired, I have not slept in weeks, or I am really overwhelmed by my kids' problems right now. I need some extra help. Maybe I need to go to counseling to talk about how to handle their problems, or maybe I need to help them get some help. Whatever it might be, we must take care of ourselves and prioritize ourselves. And that is the reality. And that's the paradox. That motherhood is designed to completely pull us away from taking care of ourselves, make us take care of all these beautiful people that we love so much and that we want to nurture and help grow. But at the same time, we have to pull back and take care of ourselves. There's a great quote, and I'm going to probably butcher it, but by Judith Orloff from her book, Emotional Freedom, where she talks about that stress comes after you. But you have to go after peace. So if you want peace, you have to fight for peace. It's not just going to come. Stress is natural. That's just going to come. But if you want peace, you've got to actually fight for it. And again, there's another paradox. You've got to fight for the thing that helps you feel like you're not fighting anymore, right? So taking care of ourselves is crucially important. And we've had a lot of episodes talking about how to take care of ourselves. Of course, some of the important things include just focusing on those basics of sleep and what are you eating and what are you doing to move your body? Are you giving yourself that energy in those 3 ways, in any of those 3 ways? And if not, where can you make some changes? I have a lot of resources on how to, especially I have a whole book on exercise and how to move your body, how to help yourself get energy. That way I have a lot of resources on my website about sleep and nutrition and those kinds of things, as well as your emotional needs. Do you need someone to talk to? Do you need someone to just listen to you? Do you need a friend? Do you need to get out? Do you need to get in and be alone for a while. Identify your needs and prioritize them. You can listen to our motherhood episode where I talked about how to get your needs met. Okay, it was a few months ago, and if you go look that up, how to get your needs met, there's some great tips in there on focusing on that. Okay, but let's remember, we must prioritize our self-care, and if we don't take care of ourselves, no one's going to do it for us. No one is going to give us self-care because it by nature means we are taking care of ourselves. Now, of course, we hope that our loved ones are going to jump in there and help us out too, but we need to get the ball rolling first. And then our last reality check today, and there are so many more we could talk about, but this goes along with all that we've been talking about, and it's something that I feel I need to say all the time to you, yes, you, the mother listening right now, is this, that we are all way too hard on ourselves. With all of this hardness of how difficult and challenging and stressful and beautiful and remarkable that motherhood is, we are also way too hard on ourselves. And I am way too hard on myself too. And that's something that I've realized. And that's one reason why I wrote the blog post that I did about Motherhood Reality Check and why I am doing this episode today. Because I want you, yes, you, to hear me when I say it's okay. You can let go of the reins a little bit. The world will not stop turning because you sit down and take a break. It can feel like that as a mom. It can feel like we are the ones with a little handle at the top of the world, or at least our family's world, and we are spinning it manually. There's no digital, there's no electronic. It's all manual spinning. And we are doing that. And if we stop, then the whole thing's going to fall apart. Right? I mean, I know so many of you feel this way. And let me tell you, you are not alone. I feel that way too. I feel like I have so many people who need me, who are counting on me, who rely upon me. And then I get really hard on myself. And I tell myself I'm not doing good enough and I need to do better and I am failing. And if my kids are upset about something, it's my responsibility. If they're mad at me about something, then I did something wrong. We take the blame on ourselves, but moms, let me tell you, it's not your fault. There are 3 kinds of business in this world. There is your business, there's other people's business, and there's God's business. God will take care of his business. That's the big stuff that, thank goodness, we don't have to deal with, like natural disasters and the world turning for real and nature and all those kinds of things, right? We don't have to worry about that. Then there's other people's business, and this is where we get confused with our own. We think that every business of our kids or our partner or spouse is our business, and it's not. And I've been reminding myself of that lately so that I could see my daughters arguing, and instead of going in and saying, "Will you guys stop fighting? We need to work on this," and instead saying, last night I did this, yay for me, pat on the back. They were arguing about stuff, and I just said, I don't want to deal with this. This isn't my problem. I've already done what I need to do with you. You guys need to go handle this. And they did. They went up in their rooms, they worked it out, and they handled it. So we need to remember, it's not all our fault. It's not all our business, and we can let a lot of it go. And we need to be easier on ourselves. We need to, yes, it's good. We're trying to grow, and I want us to grow as mothers, but in order to grow, you have to have some air, right? You actually need air and sunlight in order for a plant to grow. You need nutrients, you need food. We need that, and it needs time. It needs rest. We need that too, okay? So go easier on yourself. Give yourself a break. You are doing better than you think you are. And here's how I know that, because if you're not doing better than you think you are, if you're not really, really, really not doing what you're supposed to be doing in some way, then you have the opportunity to stop and to decide to change that. But most of the time, I'll say for moms, we way overestimate our problems and way underestimate all the good that we're doing. And we tend to only see the things that aren't right and fail to see the things that are wonderful. And you are wonderful. Mothers are wonderful. What we do is amazing. It is incredible. It is breathtaking, beautiful. And hopefully we can remember that it's hard, but it's beautiful. And that even if it's good stuff happening, it can still be hard. But we do it all because we love our families and we're doing the best we can. And when we're not doing the best we can have a reality check then and say, you know what, I'm not doing the best I can. I can do a little bit better in this one way. And that includes self-care, taking a break, letting yourself rest, giving yourself as much time as you need. The other day, my husband said to me, out of nowhere, I was really down on myself. And I know I was hormonal. I was too tired. It was the beginning of school. All my kids were struggling with their new schedules and adjustment, and everybody seemed to have problems. I was up till all hours of the night talking with them about. And I was really down on myself, and I'd said a few things, and he'd heard it. And yes, I know he wanted something. He wanted me to probably, do a little winky with him, but but still, this was really helpful. He grabbed my shoulders and he looked me in the eyes and he said, honey, you are doing a wonderful job. You are a wonderful mother and wife, and I'm just so grateful for you. You are doing so well. And I believed him. And that's the difference between the times when he might say it because I'm like, I'm a terrible mother. And he's like, no, you're good. And I don't believe him, but I believed him. And so I know that it can sink into our partners as well if we help them understand. And we can encourage them and tell them that how much we need to hear from them that we are doing okay. But if you don't have somebody else telling you right now, I'm telling you, you're doing okay. You're doing great. You're keeping up. You are doing so much work. You're loving so much. And your family is going to benefit for all that you do. But it's still hard. And that's okay too. That's why we need a break. That's why we need to take care of ourselves. Okay? Well, we could talk more about so many other reality checks, but enough of me blabbering on. I hope that all of you know how much I respect and honor you as moms. I hope you feel the compassion and love I have for all of you. As I've been working on this new book, Mastery of Motherhood, I've been touring around talking with moms across the country. And the same message keeps shining through, which is we all need to know and to feel our true worth as moms. And we all need to know that we really are doing the best that we can. And when we're not, we can change that. And I'm hoping that these shows and the book coming out and other things that I'm working on are going to help you with that. And I hope you then pay it forward and you help mentor and encourage and uplift and boost other moms. Just reach down and grab a hand and lift them up because we are amazing, moms. We are amazing. So until next time, continue to grow with me here on Motherhood Radio, and to do so in your own life. Find your tribe. Connect with us on Facebook at Growing Through Motherhood. And until next time, I hope everybody remembers how great you are. I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.